The case was this really young girl, 14-year-old girl, who all she wanted was to get to sit through the trial of her rapist. She just wanted to be in the courtroom and to hear and see justice, and yet everyone in the system, the prosecutor, the defense attorney, and even the judge, were saying to her, you don't have the right to be in the courtroom, and more importantly, you don't even have the right to ask to be in the courtroom. It took us almost 2 years fighting for her, but we finally got the New Mexico Supreme Court to say, yeah, she has a right and she gets to exercise it however she wants. So the most important success out of that, right, there's the legal success, but also she called and she just said thank you. It was, like, it keeps us going. Like, that's why we do the work.
Victims' rights are a promise that we make, right? Whether it's something that you enshrine into your Constitution or it's something that you provide statutorily through law. And when victims are harmed by the crime, when they come forward, they want to know that they can trust the system that's put in place to protect them.
I first learned about NCVLI back when I was working as a sexual assault victim advocate in California. I witnessed the way that sexual assault victims in particular were treated in the criminal justice proceedings, and I didn't like what I saw. So I decided at that point I wanted to become an attorney and started looking for law schools with programs that would help me to empower victims in a better way.
I started to get involved in the victims' rights movement in 1982 when I was a young prosecutor. And what I quickly learned was that victims were merely witnesses. They weren't really considered as part of the process.
NCVLI's whole mission is truly about enforcing victims' rights.
We train lawyers, we pair victims with lawyers, and the vision is that every victim can have access to a lawyer to protect their rights in the criminal justice system.
For me, the most exciting part of my work here at NCVLI has been working with attorneys who are waking up to victims' rights work, who are realizing that they can stand up and represent their clients in a different capacity to make sure that their rights are being enforced.
We're finally talking about enforcement, and that really is new to the last 10 years. Prior to that, we didn't have mechanisms to enforce victims' rights, and we certainly didn't have attorneys stepping in to really robustly protect a crime victim's right. NCVLI has really changed the map on that.
So we think about, what do victims across the whole country need, and how can we incrementally advance it? And then we share that information with lawyers in every jurisdiction across the country.
Probably the biggest part of NCVLI's work that I've seen have a positive impact, not just on victims, but on the system itself, is in their ability to connect others within their community. A network of resources, of individuals, victims, advocates, attorneys. Because without that, there's no path forward.
What I hope for the next 10 years is that every state in the country and federally that we have constitutional amendments that protect crime victims. We're getting there.
Our vision is in 10, 15, 20 years from now, it's common for victims to have attorneys protecting their rights. It's common for those lawyers to be really well trained. And it's common for courts to pause and say, is there a victim here? Would you like to be heard?
Oh, my love, where were you? Deep in the world, or in the